The opening weekend for the VCT Americas Stage 1 was fantastic. We had some fantastic matches, including upsets for teams you wouldn't really expect to win, and just some very competitive Valorant overall. Leviathan maybe isn't the super team that we thought they were. 100 Thieves probably lost on their best chance to beat Sentinels, and Sentinels remain on top. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, and today we're talking about the VCT Americas Stage 1 opening weekend. It was absolutely crazy. So on the board are the matches that have happened so far in the VCT Americas, and we will be starting with talking about Cloud9 versus Leviathan. This game was definitely a surprise result, with Cloud9 after the roster changes of bringing in Rooney and Moose were able to take down a team that has high expectations in Leviathan. This, in my opinion, is the biggest upset of the weekend so far. Leviathan, this is a game where you have to win. Cloud9 just went through roster changes. They won't be as warmed up as you were because they won't have much time to prepare. And it was a very competitive match. Leviathan definitely made this very close. The last map could have gone either way. It did go into overtime, deep into overtime as well, but Leviathan, they weren't able to have that killer instinct to finish Cloud9 off and take the match. Looking at it on VLR, we can go to the round by rounds of each map. So for the first map, which was Icebox, which was Cloud9's pick, Leviathan were able to take that one. 13-7 was the scoreline, and you could see that Leviathan had control of this map basically the entire time. Cloud9 only getting 3 wins on their defense side, 2 of those being retakes and 1 of those just being a timeout win. Cloud9 then had a decent attack side, but couldn't do enough to stop Leviathan from taking the match. Then moving on to Sunset, this was Leviathan's pick, and if you're a Leviathan fan, you're definitely very angry about this map in particular. That third map was really good, but we've seen from Leviathan that their second map so far, throughout kickoff and now the first match of this stage 1, they're not very good at their second map, especially being their map pick on Sunset. Even though they did end the half 6-6, for the majority of the first half, it did feel like Leviathan was in control. Their players were doing really well. Aspas was just insane this entire match. It's very shameful that he couldn't, that his team couldn't help him out enough to get the win. Not that he never messed up or anything, but he was definitely this team's best player. But on this map, again, being their pick, it just seemed like Leviathan, you know, they were in control at points. They weren't in control for a lot of the first half, but it's just the tiny little mistakes that were costing this team. And it ended up costing them the map. So then they go on to Ascent, where they do have a pretty dominant first half, 7-5, so not a huge difference in rounds there, you know, and you did lose the last 3 to end that half, but still you have a decent lead, especially on a map like Ascent that is generally defender sided. So this is a map that you have to be able to close out, and they just couldn't. They did win the pistol, but they couldn't get the second round after that. Cloud9 then just stormed their way back to win 5 in a row, and then the Leviathan were able to tie it to go into overtime. But that overtime, it seemed like every team just on defense won and no one could win on attack until C9 finally did it. For the MVPs of each team, I went with Rooney. Oxy did have a lot of kills. He had 64 kills, but in terms of VLR rating, Rooney actually had the best. This man is definitely doing his best to prove that Cloud9 shouldn't have dropped him in the first place. I don't think they should have dropped him, personally. So I am glad to see him back and doing really well. He was playing like he was just trying to prove something today, and it ended up being a huge boost for Cloud9. Rooney went 49, 46, and 20 with a +3 kill death differential. He looked really good, great debut from him, and hopefully he continues this into the next match. Then we go on to Aspas, and you start to ask yourself, why didn't Leviathan win this one? Because Aspas went 78, 46, and 15, going +32, easily the top fragger in the entire server. Kane also had a good performance, but everybody else on his team did go negative. It just seemed like they were just making, again, just little mistakes, things that were just costing them rounds, and it costed them this match, unfortunately. I do have my concerns about Leviathan going forward. This match did not do anything to quiet those concerns down for me. After Cloud9, this is a good start to stage 1. You beat a team you weren't expected to beat, so kudos to them there. And we'll see if they can pick up momentum and maybe do what they did last year during the regular season and get a lot of wins regionally, and then, you know, maybe not do anything in playoffs, but if they can have a better year and better end to the stage, then hopefully we're seeing something good out of Cloud9, at least for the sake of Cloud9 fans. So moving on to the second match that happened, we have Energy versus Loud. This was a 2-0 victory for Energy. Now, there are a couple of factors to Loud not performing very well during this match. They were tired. They did have a long visa process to make it for this match. Most of their players were stuck in visa limbo. They were actually in Ireland for the large portion of the last 2 weeks. So that is a factor in this result, but at the end of the day, the standings don't care about what the situation is. They just care about who wins. And Energy played very well as well. This wasn't just Loud just not being the same team that they would have been if they got a lot of practice. This was also Energy being prepared to face a big opponent. An opponent they have a long history with, and they definitely want to start their season off right because they weren't able to make it to Madrid, and that was very disappointing for this team. So looking at the round by round, we did start with Energy winning the pistol, then winning the bonus, but then Loud were able to win 5 rounds in a row to take a pretty commanding 5-2 lead. Energy won 3 more to end the half with 5 and Loud with 7, but then we went into Energy's attack side on Breeze, which has looked very good, winning 8 rounds on that attack side to take this one 13-10. It just seemed like Energy was just playing well, much better than Loud were. So Energy wins their map pick, and then they go into Sunset, which was Loud's map pick, and Loud couldn't do much of anything. This one was a pretty big stomping, 13-2 in favor of Energy. First 3 rounds won by Energy, Loud get 1 after that, but then 7 in a row to just take an absolute stranglehold on this match, and then 3 in a row on their defense side to take the match in a very commanding second map. For the MVPs of each team, I went with Demon 1 on the side of Energy. He went 38, 28, and 10 for plus 10. I did get some slack for putting him 4th on my list of top 10 players in Americas, but I will stand by that statement because Demon 1, when he's on, he's really on, and he proved himself in this match that he is still that guy. Not that he ever left. I don't think anybody should believe that he left, but he definitely showed some improvement from where he was at kickoff. On the side of Loud, it shouldn't be a surprise that Les is the MVP of the match. He's been their best player for a minute now. 36, 30, and 11 for plus 6 for him. So unfortunate result for Loud, but I do think that with more practice, they are going to bounce back from this. They're definitely going to get some wins during the stage 1. They're definitely going to make playoffs. I am pretty confident in saying that, especially with their group looking like the weakest. They actually have a break next weekend, so they will have time to fully recover from, jet lag and be able to prep a lot. So we'll see. And on the side of Energy, they look really good. This is a great way to start your stage off, and we'll see if they can continue this into the next matches and beyond. If they can challenge Sentinels for that top spot in Americas, I think it's going to be a very close race between these two teams if both teams are playing at peak form. So we move on to April 7th, which included the matches of G2 versus EG and Sentinels versus 100 Thieves. Starting off with G2 versus EG, we had G2 get their revenge on EG, who beat them at kickoff 2-0. Very good work from G2 here. They looked ready, they looked prepared, they looked angry. They really wanted to get this win over a team that they were expected to beat at kickoff. They were playing a lot tighter than they did at kickoff. Their strategies seem a lot more on point, and their character compositions were definitely better. Glad to see Trent back on Initiator. He looked comfortable. And Icy's performance in his debut, it wasn't something that I felt was overly impressive. He was the worst player in terms of stats, so I'm not too convinced that switching Net out for him was the right move. I don't really think it was. I think Net's a good player, but Icy is still getting accustomed to this roster and the strategy, so we'll see if he's able to adapt in the future. Looking at the first map, Lotus, we can see that G2 came out swinging, winning the first 5 in a row. EG were able to make the half 6-6, but then G2 only allowed them to win 2 on their defense side on Lotus. Very solid work from G2 on their map pick. Moving on to Icebox, 13-3 in favor of G2. They were not letting EG win this one. Winning the first 9 rounds in a row put them in an insanely good spot to take this map. I know EG had a good comeback win on them in kickoff, but this is not the same team. EG weren't able to get a single win on their defense side, and G2 take 4 in the second half to win the match. Looking at the MVPs on each team, we had Valen with a very good performance. He went 39, 19, and 17, going plus 20. On the side of EG, Nature had some very clutch plays today, and he went 38, 28, and 14. Derek also had some really good plays today, him and Nature being very good in the clutch. Jogamo really struggled with that match. He only got 17 kills throughout both maps, so rough game for EG there. Again, I don't know if I see the talent really being there for this team, even though they have Jogamo and they have Potter. Just the rest of the roster, I know EG were able to, defy all odds last year, but that was with some incredibly talented players, and while I do think there is some decent talent on this team, I don't think it's enough to do a lot. And if you're trying to prove yourself, losing to G2 is definitely not how you want to start it off. Not that G2 is a bad team. In fact, they played very well today. I'm very encouraged by these results after being very frustrated with this team during kickoff. Glad to see the improvement. I don't know if things would have changed if Net was in here. I don't think they would have been worse off. So again, I do wish Net was still on his team, but hey, it's what's done is done. So we'll see if G2 are able to do some damage in the Americas. So moving on to Sentinels versus 100 Thieves, this match was talked about a ton before it actually happened. John QT maybe wasn't going to make it. He was stuck in visa limbo in Morocco, but he was able to make it in time. And I'm just going to say this. I know people were picking 100 Thieves to win this match before John QT was confirmed to be in because they thought that Curry stepping in over John QT would weaken Sentinels. And I won't say that they wouldn't have been weakened, but I will say this. 100 Thieves, I don't think it matters the roster. I don't think it matters the year. I don't think it matters if 100 Thieves goes on an absolute tear internationally. Every time they play against Sentinels, I am choosing Sentinels to win. I do not care. The last time 100 Thieves beat Sentinels was in 2022, where Sentinels just had a nightmarish year. Sentinels much better, even if John QT wasn't here and Curry was in, I think they still would have won. They still had 4 players from the roster that won Madrid. I don't think losing one isn't necessarily going to make the whole thing collapse. And even after John QT was confirmed to be in this match, you're still hoping, well, you know, they're not going to have a lot of practice time with John QT because, you know, he's been away. But my counter argument to that would be they're still in mid-season form. They just played the most amount of matches and rounds in the entire VCT. They're very warmed up in terms of just being in form during the season. So even though 100 Thieves have a lot of VOD review and a lot of time to prepare, Sentinels are just a better team. And again, it's just historically, it's a terrible matchup for 100 Thieves. Looking at the round by round, we can see that it was a pretty competitive icebox. We saw 100 Thieves in control in the first half, winning 7 out of the 12. Sentinels were able to win the first 3 of the second half, and then they did lose the next 3, so it was looking pretty neck and neck, but then Sentinels storm back, they win 5 in a row to take that first map. And then we go to Split, and anybody asking why did 100 Thieves let Sentinels go to Split, it's because they banned Lotus, which Sentinels are flawless on. It's very hard to counterpick Sentinels on their maps. They have a very deep map pool. So if you're any team against Sentinels, you just kind of have to choose the one that you think is more strong for them and then just hope for the best. Because Sentinels on Split, they're very good, and they continue to be extremely good. They did take this one 13-6, only allowing 1 win on 100 Thieves attack side in the second half, and they take it. For the MVPs of this match, Saucy went 36, 25, and 17 with plus 11. He was definitely Sentinel's best player during that match. Cryocells, he did have a rough second map, but his first map was pretty good. He went 40, 30, and 3. Plus 10 kill def differential there. So for 100 Thieves, this is not the start that you wanted. I did expect them to lose this match, so I don't think that losing against the Madrid winners is anything that the organization or the team has to panic about. Yes, this probably was their best chance to beat Sentinels in a very long time, but I just don't think that matters. I just think you reset and you go into next weekend hoping that you can, you know, do a lot better. Because they definitely were a bit sloppy, and that is a contributing factor into why Sentinels were able to win. Even though Sentinels, while they did play very well, were definitely not 100%. So unfortunate start for 100 Thieves, but they should be able to beat some teams that aren't, you know, the Madrid winners. So we'll see how the rest of their season goes. I'm very curious to see how the next match goes. I'll probably make a video on this team probably next week after next week, and we'll see how their match. I think they're against G2. It's right below me. I don't know why. Don't know. But that should be a pretty competitive match. G2's looking better. 100 Thieves, maybe not yet. So I don't know. I really don't know how that one's going to go. So whatever that video is going to be, it's either going to be about them struggling or about them maybe recovering. And on the side of Sentinels, I mean, I expected this, so I'm not surprised at all. They looked like they haven't really skipped a beat. Again, they did look kind of sloppy, but a solid win on Split. They look like they're going to be the best team in Americas to hopefully no one's surprise. Moving on to the match that happened today, we had Crew versus Furia. This was a 2-1 win for Crew. Crew finally winning a non-LCQ game in the VCT Americas Franchise League. Woo, baby, let's go! In all seriousness, this was a solid win from Crew. They did lose that second map, and I definitely got a little worried for their chances after that happened. But to their credit, Kesnet looked really good. Heat, great debut from him as well. This team did show flashes of being really good at kickoff, just couldn't put together a win against G2, and this definitely looks like some improvement. It is against Furia, who I do think is the worst team in the entire Americas, and this match definitely didn't change much of anything to disprove that. Even though they took a map, still, maps get lost by good teams, so I'm not taking too much away from Crew for that. But Crew just looked like the better team throughout this entire match. Looking at the first map, Lotus was a 13-7 win in favor of Crew, having a very solid attack half and then only needing to win 3 on their defense. Icebox, bit of a different story. Furia did get the early lead, and then they did end the half with 8-4 in favor of Furia, so Furia definitely recovering from that first map. Crew did look solid on their attack half, but unfortunately with some solid retakes from Furia did take this one 13-11. And then we had Breeze, which Crew just looked like they were like, no, we're winning this one. We are not letting Furia take this one. They did have a very good first half, winning 7, and then they won 6 in the second half to take Breeze. MVPs for this match, I have both players that debuted for their new teams. So we have Heat, who went 64, 38, and 39 for plus 26 throughout this match. Very good debut from him. It's a different role. He's not playing duelist right now, so he might be a very good addition to this roster. Whenever MTA is ready to go, is he going to get swapped out? I mean, we'll see what happens, but for now, it's a good debut from Heat. On the side of Furia, I went with Noswer. He went 44, 46, and 20, so he did go negative with a -2, but that is better than the other players on his team. Not looking super out of place, looking pretty good for his new team, but I just don't know if the roster around him is really any good aside from MW0. So looking ahead on Saturday, which is the next day of matches for the Americas, we have G2 versus 100 Thieves. I'm taking G2 to win that one. I just think they look better than 100 Thieves have, even though 100 Thieves have only played much better teams than what G2 has faced, but I do think it's pretty close whatever happens. Then we have Sentinels versus Leviathan. So Leviathan, with an unfortunate upset loss to Cloud9, will be looking to bounce back, but I don't think that Sentinels is how it's going to happen. I think they're probably going to lose this one, and Sentinels will take this one. So those were the matches that happened during the VCT Americas opening weekend for Stage 1. Let me know what you guys thought of them in the comment section down below. Please click like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!